Go ahead.
That's a gross.
Kaimon, how good can you guys be? And before you answer, Max said there's in all areas you guys can get a lot better, and kind of treating you guys a little bit like you're 0-4 in a sense instead of 4-0. So tell me how much better you think you guys can do.
I feel like we're going to be as good as we can be. I feel like offensively and defensively, just together as a whole, but just like you said, we're practicing like we're 0-4 because you can't get complacent out there. I know there's a lot of teams out there that's not 4-0. It's very selective right now. So it's just like right now, as long as we just stay level, don't get complacent, just keep on working like we've been doing for these past 4 weeks. Keep the same mentality as we always have been. I feel like we're only going to be as good as we can be, or we're going to allow ourselves to be.
If there's one thing you could fix right now in defense, what would it be?
I mean, there's not really anything individually to point out. I feel like there's definitely some things to collectively as a unit that we can do to get better. Just not giving up explosive plays if there had to be one, just together as a whole. But I mean, like individually, like selecting each and every group, like seeing what we need to do better on. I mean, it's kind of hard to dictate because we have been doing well. Just we can't get complacent. But I mean, like if there had to be one thing, it would definitely be just limiting explosive plays, like explosive passes, explosive runs, stuff like that.
In the second half of the game so far this year, the defense only gave up 3 second half points against South Carolina, 3 against Minnesota, and then defensively 0 against Pitt. What do you think's been kind of the key of those second half adjustments, being able to kind of hunker down a little bit, in the last 30 minutes?
I feel like one for us is just our confidence. We didn't hang our heads low when we gave up some points in the first half. If we were down, I mean, like I feel like for us, just confidence is our biggest thing as a defense. I feel like it's for a good minute we had a struggle finding that, but I feel like now with this team, with this leadership that we have on the defensive side, I feel like we're definitely tapping into that. And then of course, like hats off to the coaches as well. They made great adjustments into the second half. They like going into the game, we have keys, indicators, things that we feel like the offense might do on the opposing side, but some just like any other good team would, they're going to make adjustments. They're going to change up because of what we run as well. So hats off to the coaches. They made great coaching adjustments in the second half and allowed us to execute and be the ball players that we are.
Kaimon, do you have any nicknames for your pass rushes?
No. For the
different particular ones.
Nah, I mean just like any pass rusher would, just like you got your club rich, you got your ghost move, you have you got so many different moves that I still can't even name. So I mean, there's not really any particular nickname for any move that I do. I just go out there and do it.
I didn't know if it looked like you hit the one Pitt dude with the spin move maybe.
No, I ain't hit no spin. That was a speed chop if that's what you're regarding.
Speed chop, okay.
Yeah. So that's what or speed rip, whatever you want to consider it. But yeah, that's what I hit though.
Mac was saying yesterday that one of the biggest improvements on defense this year has been in sudden change situations. I think you've only held teams to like 2 field goals. Why do you feel like there's been an improvement in that area? Is it a point of pride on the defense, obviously, or just what do you see there?
I definitely feel like it's a sense of pride. Just like, it's like when it comes down to sudden change, like nobody wants to deal with defense finally getting off the field, we finally get some Gatorade or whatever, and the next thing something happens where we got to get back on the field. So for us, I feel like that's just, a slap in the face for us. I feel like that you're going to, just because we're giving you good field position, that you're going to automatically score. So just, I feel like for us, it's a sense of pride, understanding like we get very territorial, understanding is like we're not going to let you go into our end zone. If you are, like we're not going to go down without fighting. So it's just, I feel like it definitely is a pride thing, and also just taking up to that challenge because I know last year our red zone efficiency wasn't up to par as much as it should have been. So I feel like we're definitely taking that challenge with that sense of pride and just understanding is like we can't let anybody in our end zone.
Mac said yesterday that before this year and in the past couple of years since you got here, he could sense that there was some panic on defense when things would start to go poorly, and it would allow for things to continue going poorly. But he's not sensing that now. You guys are, even with Pittsburgh, they scored their first 2 possessions, but you guys were still under control.
Yeah.
And that's why you were in position to make whatever adjustments need to be made and then go up the rest of the way. Why? What's the difference now in not panicking versus why you guys did before?
Honestly, for us, I just feel like our preparation during the week, I just feel like I stated before, it's just like offense is going to make adjustments just as much as we are. They're going to throw some plays at us because I know, Pittsburgh, they emptied out their whole playbook in the first half. And so at that point, we already kind of understood what they were going to run after that. And so for us, even though those plays that they did run were very successful, we understood it's like, listen, all we got to do is just make like 1 or 2 adjustments, depending on the position where we got to be placed. And then after that, we just got to play ball. So I feel like on the defensive side as a whole, we understood that. And that just because we're getting a couple of good plays, that doesn't mean that the game isn't over. It was just only the first quarter. So, I feel like we had that mentality all the way across the board from the D-line all the way back to the safeties. And I feel like that's very key to have as a defense because not a lot of people think that way. It's like all it takes is for one person to get a disease going, you know what I'm saying? So for us to have that cohesiveness around the defense, just understanding is like, listen, just because they're getting some good plays, that doesn't mean that we're just going to lose the game off of those couple of plays, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like we definitely had that confidence alongside with preparation. That definitely gave us the upper hand when it came to us being on the same page.
I got to ask a follow-up to that.
Go ahead.
When a team does do that early, does that kind of tell you that they don't think they can go conventionally at you consistently? And does that kind of give you a psychological leg up?
Of just like thinking together or thinking
Well,
separately?
when like Pittsburgh, for example, they would struggle offensively and they throw some triggers, some different stuff at you that maybe is out of their norm. Is that telling you, sending you a message they don't think they can go conventionally at you?
Oh yeah, most definitely. If I feel like, if you throw in some plays that you're not used to running, then it's kind of like, you kind of threw away your initial playbook. You know what I'm saying? That means we kind of shut down your initial plays, so now you got to go with some stuff that you're not necessarily used to or that you're kind of like your backup plans. And so I feel like with Pittsburgh, I don't know what they were capable of doing. I don't know what kind of playbook they had going in, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus or anything, but it's just like, they held their hat on running the ball, and if they couldn't run the ball, they had their hat on throwing it deep, and they really couldn't do neither one of those. So they had to reach into their bag of playbooks and see what they could find. But I mean, for us, like you said, just going back to the first question, I feel like our preparation and confidence, and of course, just understanding not letting our head hang low and just staying on the same page, I feel like that definitely helped us, not allowing those guys to go into their initial playbook.
Kaimon, something else Matt was speaking about in regards to the way you guys were practicing last week. He said he was very pleased with how you guys were practicing and the energy you were bringing, during the bye week, telling his coaches, the approach moving forward as an 0-14 to a 4-0 team. How is that being received, from the entire team? And is that a reason why you guys have the energy that you had during the bye week and how it carries over into this game against?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I feel like energy is a great thing. First off, if you don't have energy going through the week, whether that you're going against a team that weekend or whether that you have a bye week, it's going to set the precedent for how the upcoming days are going to go. So I feel like this team has done a great job giving energy day in, day out. I feel like last week, like Coach said, it's just like we came in with energy every single day. There's yet to be a bad practice that we've had, and so just carrying on that energy through a bye week and not having anybody to go against that week just shows you how mature this team is getting, not only defensively but offensively as well. Just showing like, just because we're not going against anybody this week, it's a bye week, not an off week. So I feel like, just for us to consistently bring energy, us to consistently execute the plays that we're given, even though we're not playing anybody, that just shows how much stride this team has taken since last year. And like you said, like us bringing energy, man, it's important. So.
Kaimon, we were talking to Gene yesterday, and he was talking about the different aspects of your game, and he even mentioned that when you guys come off the field and he's on, I guess, the phone with you or the headsets with you, that he said even if something, not great happened, bad happened, you quickly identify that. You can tell them good, bad, indifferent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, do you think that's just one of the areas that you've sort of improved and grown as a player, is just, I don't know, recognition of what's going on out there, and if something's not happening right, how to change it, that type of thing?
I feel like one of the things is like, I can definitely say for myself early on, I was able to have really good play recognition. Like if there was something that I did mess up on, I could automatically know what you're talking about before the coaches even speak to me about it. I can tell them, and I'm like, you can ask any coach. I'm like very apologetic, so it's like, I'm sorry, this is what happened, this, that, and the third. But yeah, I feel like play recognition definitely helps me, and I know like continuing on, that's definitely like just getting on the headset with Coach Chiswick and understanding is like, hey, what happened right here, and I can tell him A, B, C, D, or what happened. I feel like not only just myself as a progression of a player, but I feel like as a defense, we've done a great job, because with that, you can take that negative and turn it into a positive. And so just with that, you know, if you can do that, shoot, there's not many adjustments that you have to make later on.
That's football, right?
Exactly.
So you get on there and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do. He was like, Coach be like, what? Coach, Ruck, what happened right here? And I was like, oh, I did 1, 2, 3. Then you know you got to do that, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. And then just move on from it.
Kaimon, you must feel terrible when you see a player get injured, whether it's, especially on your team. You think that that's just bad luck when a player gets injured, or is it something that you do and some of the guys do to prevent yourself from getting injured? Are there things that you can do to lower the odds of getting injured?
Well, that's the dark side of football. I feel like I would say it's just like injuries happen out of the blue. I don't feel like injuries happen initially. It's just like intentionally. Like nobody wants to get injured. I don't want to get injured. So it's just like with us when that happens. I mean, it's unfortunate. All you can do is just pray for the person and hopefully they can have a speedy recovery. But I don't feel like that's a bad luck per se. I feel like it just happens. That's like I said. That's the dark side of football. You plant wrong. You change direction wrong. You strike in the wrong place. You put your head in the wrong place. Next thing you know, you have a list of injuries that could potentially happen, whether that is minor or major. But I mean, like, you know, injuries happen. That's just a part of football. But I mean, you know, we signed up for this sport, so there's not really much we can do about that.
Is it more awareness? Is awareness have anything to do with this? If you're ultra aware that maybe that'll help you not being in the wrong place at the wrong time?
I mean, like, yeah, that could definitely play a part into it as well, because if you're not in the right gap, if you're not covering the wrong guy, and then you have like a oh crap moment, you got to hurry up and get back to where you need to be. I mean, like, that definitely heightens the chance of you getting injured. But like I said, it's just like injuries happen in unfortunate circumstances, and not really a point in time where it's just like if you do this, you can do something correctly, like a running back. They can do one cut. Next thing you know, like something happens to them. Lord forbid, that's not going to happen to any of our guys. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like one of those things where it happens. Unfortunately, there's not really much you can do about it. Guys that stay in our training room, they get treatment, rehab, 24, like the whole entire week. And next thing you know, sadly, something happens. So, you know, I don't really feel like that's, like you said, like a bad luck. I don't even think it's an awareness thing. It's just one of those things where like, it's like you play ball. That's what happens when you get too physical. You got a lot of guys going after each other, putting it all on the line. And, you know, sometimes there's going to be some guys that are going to be more banged up at the end of it than others. So.
Okay, we got one more back.
Okay.
When we play quarterback like Garrett Schrader,
Okay.
I mean, the word you hear over and over is contain.
Yeah.
That always feels like it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
How do you properly contain a quarterback who has that kind of
That's a great question. Garrett Schrader, man, first off, he's a tremendous quarterback. You know, he makes plays with his arm just as well as he makes plays with his legs. And I feel like, you know, having the responsibility to contain a scrambler like that, you know, it's just like it does get a little difficult. But I mean, just with that, I don't really feel like there's much you can change. I feel like the only thing that you got to be hyper aware of is not to lose contain. You know what I'm saying? It's just like as an edge rusher, I got to keep the edge. There's going to be many times where, like, you know, if a tackle oversets, I can take the inside. I mean, I'm probably going to have to be a little bit more cautious with that now this week. That's probably my only mindset with it all, because I know he has a tendency to roll out even to his opposite side where he's not really strong with throwing the ball. So, I mean, that's probably the only thing that I have to worry about when it comes down to contain. But, I mean, when it comes down to my pass rushing, there's not really, or just us as a whole as pass rushers on the D-line and the jack position, I don't really think there's much that we have to change in terms of contain, as long as we're just doing our job and executing the plays that's going to be given. Everything's going to be taken care of itself, but just being hyper aware, like, you know, taking the inside move when it's open. Yes,
All right.
sir.
Thanks, Cameron.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah.